Well, welcome back to an exciting video. And what we're talking about today is the tone to Eddie Van Halen's Not Enough. So I put up a video a while back of the one tone that I just could not figure out from Eddie Van Halen. And I'd messed around with this tone off and on for a while, you know, and it's not like I was doing it because so I could learn, so we could play the song in my band, but I just found it was an interesting tone. And I really like effects on guitars for all the things that we can do now, especially with the modelers. It's just insane the amount of things we can do to our tones. So I just kept messing around with it, and I was thoroughly convinced that it was a rotary cabinet that he was using for this tone. And lo and behold, I was wrong. I would jump into my fractal, which the effects in the fractal are world class. I mean, they're absolutely amazing effects, and they are literally studio quality. And I just kept tweaking around with a rotary cabinet, and I just could not get it to work. No matter what I did, it just did not sound like the song, the tone he was using. So off that last video, I got a lot of comments and people saying, hey, try this, try that, try the other thing. And so I started kind of messing around with all that. And then I tried phasers and flangers and choruses, and I just could not get it right. But I was still convinced it was a rotary cabinet because of the way it sounded. I could hear the oscillation in it. So I was watching the David Letterman live video that they did of this song. And that was, what, 500 years ago they shot that video. And when I was watching it, I noticed he reaches down and he clicks on his pedal board. Now, this cannot be a pedal he's turning on. This has to be a switcher turning on the pedal, not just a particular pedal, unless he's got some kind of custom-built pedal, which he very well may have. He's Eddie Van Halen. But as soon as he did that, then I quickly realized, okay, it's not a rotary because I don't see a rotary on the stage anywhere. And by him clicking on his pedal board, that pretty much gives me an idea that it is a phaser, flanger, or a chorus. So like I said, after messing around with a lot of them, I kept leaning more towards the choruses than anything else. And then finally, I stumbled across this chorus called a Dimension 3. Now, when I started tweaking with this, I started kind of honing in on that tone, and it was getting closer and closer and closer, but I just could not get it exact. So when I had it, and this is kind of what it sounds like when I first got it plugged up. And what I've done is I've got the rate set extremely, extremely fast. And, but I'm running a 50% mix on it, 50 to 100%. It really doesn't change all that much between the two. You can run it 50% or 100%, it doesn't really matter. But it does have the effect itself is at 100%, but I run my mix from 50 to 100 depending on how much of it you want. But it sounds pretty damn close with a few problems. And that's actually very close. But it was still way too thin sounding. It's very tinny, very thin. And I thought, okay, well, he's obviously playing it on the front pickup. And then listen to this. And I thought, well, that's actually very close. That's got to be it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Dimension chorus, turn the effect up 100%, turn the mix up 50 to 100%, put a very fast rate on it so it oscillates very quick. Boom, got it. Then I'm watching the video again, and I notice he's playing the entire thing on the rear pickup. I'm like, what the shit, man? Now what do we got going on here? Because back to the rear pickup, we are back to this sound. And it's just much, much, much thinner. And if you notice right here on the video, you can see that right here, the pickup switch is up, not down. Well, Eddie Van Halen, in all of his brilliance in designing the Wolfgang guitars, and I'm going to tell you, it was brilliant. Being that he's Eddie Van Halen and we are not, when he designed it, to me, the Les Paul always had a little issue from the factory, and that was the selector switch was backwards. Well, what do you mean it's backwards? Les Paul's been doing that forever. Les Paul's right, Eddie Van Halen's wrong. I disagree. Because Eddie Van Halen loves Les Paul guitars, hence this guitar. This guitar, a lot of the aspects from this are from a Les Paul guitar. But when you tap, and you have the selector switch right here, and you're tapping, and you want your rear pickup, what happens? Ah, looky there. You hit the selector switch, and it clicks it back up. So that means on a Les Paul, if you're playing here, which would be the rear pickup, and you're tapping, you're going to hit that switch, and it's going to switch it back to the front pickup, where you don't want to be. So Eddie Van Halen simply reversed it. Makes perfect sense to me. Now when he taps, he doesn't have to worry about hitting this switch right here. It's already in the position it needs to be in. So in my mind, Eddie Van Halen got it right. Everybody's going to disagree with me. I honestly don't care. He's Eddie Van Halen. We're not. But I noticed, if you saw in the video, he's playing it up here. So now we're back to this. This thin-ass sound, and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is he doing now? So at that point, that's when I thought, okay, when he hits that switch, it has to be a switcher he's hitting. Because not only is he flipping on a dimension course, he has to be flipping on an EQ. Has to be. Because he's not doing it through the amp. Because then it would screw all of his tones up if he was just basically cutting out all the treble. So there has to be something else in the signal chain cutting that treble. And the only thing I could come up with is he has to be running an EQ somewhere. So what I did is, if you look over here at the fractal, as you can see right here, I put a GEQ in front of the amp. And what I've done is from 1K to 16K, I've cut out literally all the highs. Now you could, if you come over here to the chorus and come to tone, and if you hear here, you pull the high cut all the way out, and that's what you get. Now, if you pull this up, it's still crazily muffled. And it simply does not work. And then it just starts letting all those highs bleed back in. So that's when I thought, okay, so when he's stepping on that switcher, it has to be turning on an EQ. There's nothing else. Because you can't be using the EQ in the pedal, because that's not removing highs. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. EQ is actually very hard to explain. It's not that it's removing highs. It's basically, it's shelving everything high. When you roll that all the way down on that high cut, when you roll that high cut all the way down, it's shelving everything above a certain frequency. So, and you really can't bring those back. And what you're doing is when you roll that high cut up, it's moving the shelf over. Now the highs are coming back, but you're not EQing the highs. You're physically removing all the highs. So when I went to the GEQ, what I've done is I've removed the highs. The frequencies are still there. I've just squished them down instead of completely eliminating them. So if you look back at my GEQ, you can see what I've done is I've pulled all the highs down. The frequencies are still there. I've just got them pulled all the way to the bottom, to where when you shelve it, the frequency's not even there. It has literally moved all those frequencies hard to the left. Doing this, the frequencies are still there. I've just brought everything down. Now, when I click this on, now on the rear pickup, now I've got that sound back. Because like I said, the GEQ, I'm taking because you have a frequency here. And when you run a shelf, when that shelf starts moving across, it's literally removing, those frequencies are all shifting to the side. But when I do this, the frequencies are still here, I've just brought them down to the bottom, but they're still there. And EQ is one of those things, it's very hard to explain EQ. You really have to get in there and kind of start tweaking with it to understand. But using the tone adjustment on the chorus itself, it was shelving those frequencies, and that was killing the tone. So what I did is I put the frequencies back in with an EQ and I just brought them down. I bottomed them out. And that kind of took all that bitterness and harshness out of the sound. So I think, hell, I've got it. This is pretty damn close. That's pretty damn good. That's not too bad. And so he plays the entire solo on his neck pickup until he gets to the very rear. When he gets to the rear, you can watch him, he flips it down and he plays that last little lick there that he plays that last little bit on the rear pickup for whatever reason. I have no idea why. I guess it's something that he hears. But he plays that last little bit on the rear pickup. But I think that is going to get the sound. If anybody's looking for that sound, I do believe that is the premise. Now, if you have a modeler, if you have a Fractal or a Kemper or hell, a Head Rush or the Line 6 one, you should be able to pretty much replicate this exactly the same. It's very simple. All you need is a very big core, like a Dimension chorus, run the effect 100%, your mix, whatever sounds good to you on your mix. I run mine around 50, 60% actually. Run your mix wherever you want to run your mix. But then you're going to have to also put an EQ in there to cut all those highs or it's going to bleed like crazy. And that's actually it. It was a hell of a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. And the problem is I was overthinking it like so many of us do. You know, like when we're learning solos and you're like, oh my God, that solo is going to be so hard. And a lot of times we overthink it, we overcomplicate it. So we're defeating ourselves before we even get started. And that's kind of what I did here. I dicked around with this forever, just thoroughly convinced it was some kind of rotary setup something. And it wasn't. It was simply a Dimension chorus with an EQ. And if anybody has any more information than this, I mean, I could be wrong, but to me it sounds pretty damn accurate. I mean, it sounds shockingly close to me. And when I play the solo with the record, it sounds pretty much damn on point. So if anybody knows something I don't know, by all means send it to me because I have no problem tweaking my sounds. And it's not that we play this live, this song. You know, it's a great song, but it's nothing that I would play in my band live. But I get curious about tones because there's another one I've been chasing that I will go ahead and mention. And it's, Is It Always Gonna Love You by Gary Moore? I'll have to check. But it's a magnificent tone on that. And that's the next one I'm gonna be chasing. So I'll do a video on that and see if anybody can help me figure that one out. Because I've been messing with that one for a while and I can't figure it out. On that note, I'm gonna wrap this one up right there. Please subscribe to the channel. Only 4.4% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed. I would like to get that to 10% if possible. If you have any comments or questions, you can drop them down to the comments section. I do answer all comments and questions. I do reply, and sometimes it'll take me a day or two, sometimes 3 or 4, depending on what is going on. But I will eventually, I will get there. I will get there. Within a few days, I will reply to the comments. If you do have any questions and need to know something about a guitar, how to fix this or that, the other, or something about the tone or whatever have you, by all means, drop me a line and I will definitely reply back to you. So on that note, like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss a beat, you lose the rhythm and nothing falls into place. And no matter what you do, for the love of God, rock on.